Hi everyone. So today I'll be showing you how I draft pattern and make my princess darts. Some call it princess cuts, some call it princess for Bustier tops and blouses. But first let me show you how I take my measurements. So I start with the collarbone this way. I take it down to the nipple, which I call center, straight down to the under bust, which I call below, straight down to the navel, which I call front half length, straight down to the preferred top length, which I call the blouse length or the top length, and I go across the clients. Round under our armpit this way, I call it tube. Round under the bust, which is also the bust. Round under the bust is the under bust. Round on the navel is the waist. Right on the preferred top length, which I call the blouse hip. And I go to the back of the client or the back of the mannequin this way. So I take the measurement from here, from one collarbone here, from one shoulder point rather, to the other shoulder point, which I call the back or the shoulder. Also from the collarbone, I measure my back half, which is very important. So to avoid folds behind tops or behind your blouses, which is the back half length. Then after that, I measure the bust interval, the nipple interval as well, which is from here to this point, which I call the tube. Come along with me, let's draft a pattern. So I start with my measurement this way. I leave this space for my seam allowance, which is ½ inch. Then I go to my measurement proper. From this point here to this point is my center. And my measurement here, I have it as my center. From the collarbone as well to my below, measurement here says 12. Then to my front half length, which is 15. And my preferred top length, which is 19. Then I have my seam allowance here also as 1 inch. Okay, so let's join our dots together. This is 8, plus seam allowance will give me 8 and a half. 8 and a half. 8 and a half. 8 and a half. Then for my below, 12 and a half. 12 and a half. 12 and a half. For my front half length, which is 15, so it gives me 15 and a half here, 15 and a half there, 15 and a half, 15 and a half. Then for my preferred top length, which is 19, 19 here, also 19 here. Then let's join our dots together this way. Okay, then we join our dots also here for the seam allowance. That's that. So the next thing, we're done with the vertical measurement. Let's go to the horizontal measurement. This is my center. From my shoulder point here to my center is 8, which also doubles as my breast point. And my breast point interval is 8 as well. So I come here, I divide my 8 into 2, which gives me 4. I chalk my 4 here. I include my seam allowance, which is ½ inch, right here. And I come here to the below, which doubles as my under bust. Measurement, standard measurement I use here is 2.5. And I come here, I include my seam allowance, ½ inch. Then I go to the bottom of the dress, or bottom of the top rather. I do my 2.5 as well. I include my seam allowance, which is ½ inch. Okay? So this is 4.5. This gives me 3, and this gives me 3 as well. The next thing to do is to join my dots. And after that is done, the next thing to do is to come here. In between this angle for the breast cut here, I told you from the other lesson that I prefer to use 2.5, 2 inches rather. My seam allowance, that gives me 2.5. Then I join my dot here as well. So the distance between this box here, this triangle part, is the same measurement I'm going to use for the bottom, which is 2 1/4. Let's cross check. Okay, this is 2 3/4 rather. So chalk out 2 3/4 here, 2 3/4 here as well. Then we join our dots. So in between those breast points, which I said is 4 inches, with my sewing allowance, my seam allowance, which is here, as 4.5. Then I come here, I chalk this 4 inches. I chalk this as well, 4 inches. This also 4 inches here, 4 inches here, 4 inches. Then I join my dots. So with these measurements in the middle, you're able to pinpoint how to arrange your measurements to be sure if whatever you're measuring is accurate or not. After this is done, I come to my back measurement or my shoulder measurement. The back measurement I have here is 17. 17 into 2, I'll add seam allowance. It could be 2, it could be 3, just for future purpose. Let's say 2.5 here. So from this point here to this point here is my back, also my shoulder. And I need to create, because we are making a princess dart top, which obviously we have an armhole, I need to create like a little sign to show me that right here is where my armhole is. Considering that this is the middle part of the blouse, and this is the side of the blouse. So from my back here, measure 3.5 this way. Then I join my dots together here. Mind you, this is not the exact armhole measurements we need. It's just a sign to indicate that this is where the armhole is going to be. The next thing I do is I measure my preferred measurements. For the bust, the seam allowance 2 inches. For the under bust, seam allowance 2 inches. For the waist, seam allowance 2 inches. Then for the blouse length, that's the round hip. This way, seam allowance 2 inches. Now it's time to join my dots together. Mind you, this bottom part of the top is very important. Like I said, you need this arc shape always for your tube top, even for your dresses. So you avoid unnecessary folds at the side of your dress, of your top, of the blouse. Always. So from the previous measurements, I told you I use 2 inches this way. So I check my 2 inches, then I join the dots right to this point. This is what I have. Then, after getting this angle here, it's time to get the armhole angle. That's the armpit angle. So what's the next thing to do? The distance from here to here is 8. The middle of that distance is 4, which is here. I come this way and I join the 4-inch measurement, which is the middle of my measurement. I have 4 inches here, I have 4 inches here as well. The measurement interval between this point and this point here is 1 inch. Same measurement interval to this part also. Then I join my dots together. Okay, so right now we have a complete sketch for our princess dart. The next thing for me now is to show you how I cut it out, how I join it, and how I made the top. So now that we are done with the front sketch, let's draft the back pattern. So next thing to do is first you check out your seam allowance, which is ½ inch. But for back measurement, it's always advisable you use 1 inch, because most time to make a proper princess dart cloth, the back needs to lift a little bit to the front, so it gives a proper balance on the shoulder. So I always prefer to use 1 inch here for the back. So that's the seam allowance that I can start my measurements. So I'll go straight down to my back half length, which is 14. Then my preferred top length, which is 19. Then I have my seam allowance at the bottom here, which is not up to an inch, but let's say 1¾ So now that I've figured my back half length as 14, let's join the dots together. Preferred top length gives us 20. So let's join our dots now. Let's go back to our front measurement. For the measurement, we have the breast point as 8. Same breast point allowance applied to the back of the princess dart as well. So I come here, I leave space for my zip, that's my zip allowance. which is 1.5. And from here, I measure my 4 inches because the breast point is 8. 8 into 2 will give me 4, which comes here as 4 inches. I include my seam allowance, which is ½ inch. So if I measure from my zip allowance and the back half length here, this gives me 6 1/4. Let's join our dots together. So come here. So then let's join the dots here for the zip allowance as well. So now that that is done, next thing to do now is to roll our back half length here. The angle right here on the back half length is very important. These are the angles that help us avoid excess fold at the back of our clothes, folds, or zip not sitting well. So this is what I do. I bring my measuring tape here. I do 1.5 for the back. Mind you, for the front is 2.5. For the back is 1.5. So for the arc here, 1.5 inch. See, then here as well, 1.5 inches. Now that that is done, let's join our dots here as well. This way. Let's join the second one. Always adjust your ruler if it's not getting to the exact point you want. This way. So this back arc is very important. And then after that is done, the bottom part of the top that I showed you in front applies also to the back of the top, which I said is 2 inches. Mind you, this is 1 inch seam allowance for the shoulder or for the back. Here's another 1 inch seam allowance for the bottom, the top. So let's do our bottom arc. We come here, measure 2 inches this way. And after that is done, you slightly arc your back zip allowance this way. Please take notes. Slightly this way. So which gives us 1 inch for the zip allowance because I'm going to have to trim out this part, which is obviously ½ inch. Then the next thing we'll do is to join the dot here for the bottom part of the blouse. So after this is done, we'll come back to our back measurement. The back measurement is 14, which 14 into 2 gives us 7. 7 here. Sewing allowance, I said 2 inches or 3 inches. Same, 2 inches. In the armhole shape here also, 4 inches. Then join the dots for the armhole. Mind you, like I said, this shape of armhole here is not the exact shape we're going to use, but it just indicate that this part of the top is where the armhole is going to be. So for the body size measurement, this is 8, 2 inches allowance, also 7, 2 inches allowance. Then for the hip, 2 inches allowance. Now let's join our dots together this way. Okay? We can also use our roller to do that. So this is what the bag of the princess that looks like. This is what the front also looks like. So now let's cut a princess that. I'll start with the front. Please watch. You can make this place a little bit round. Yes. Then the next thing I do, let me not forget to cut my armhole. This is what the front looks like after cutting. And this is what was removed from the front. So let's cut the back. I'll trim out the excess from the bottom. I'll trim out the armhole as well. Trim out the sides. Then I come here. I trim out this way. Then I trim out the zip allowance also. After all this is done, this is what I have for the front. Also, this is the back. And this was what was removed from the back. So now that our pattern drafting is done, it's time to trim it on the fabric, join our fabric, cut the style, and make our princess dart blouse. So I'm about to show you how to join a princess dart this way. There's an angle here that you need to take note of. The angle must meet each other this way. So after doing this, you place it down. Then you chuck. Don't forget that our sewing allowance is ½ inch. So ½ inch here. So let's join our dots together now. So we're about to sew. Don't forget that this point is very important. You stitch, you run your thread. When you get to that angle I was talking about, you pause this way. Then you turn the fabric this way. Please watch closely. This way. Then you keep sewing bit by bit, no rush. If you notice that while I'm turning the fabric, my needle point is still inside the fabric. It's not like I removed my needle point. So you continue this way. You carefully turn the fabric, you tilt it to the side little by little. Yeah, very good. So after that, that same point I was telling you about, you notch it carefully. This way, this way. So this is what you have after doing that. Can you see the seam? What you have after doing that. Then let's do the back. So for the back, this sign here indicates my zip allowance. Remember I told you when we were sketching our pattern. Then you put this angle and this angle together this way. That is one big, one small. Then you sew. First you chop the measurement, ½ inch as well. Okay, so let's join our dots together. This way. And we're about to sew. Mind you, that angle I told you about, this is it here. Yeah. So I'll carefully turn my fabric this way. And I continue. Stitch, cut my thread, and I notch that part as well. So now that we've joined the fabrics, can you see the shape? To give you something of this angle. It's not going to be straight, what it's going to look like. Then we join the lining as well. So this is the front, that's the back. Same thing apply to joining of the lining. So let's join the front lining together also. So just the way I did the front as well. I pick this angle together, this here together. I press it down, chuck my ½ inch for my seam allowance. This way. Then I join my dots together. Can you see? So, mind you, the cup part is here, this way. I put these two angles together. I hold it down, then I'm ready to sew. This front part is very important. There's no need to rush it because if this points don't align, you end up having one cup up, another one down. But if you take note of the length, that is, you cross-check this one from here to this point. What I have here is 10. Let me cross-check this as well, same as 10. So you can check it for proper indication. You have 10. That way, you're going to have exact shape of cup. So I put it down that way. Please watch closely. This is very tricky. Can you see? I still maintain my ½ inch sewing allowance. Please watch closely. So this is the back for you to see what both ends, both side looks like. After that, is what we have. I'll iron everything, join them, then we can shape our measurements. So after ironing, this is what it looks like. This is the front, and this is the back. Mind you, when you place your top on a table, you're going to notice this funny like fold here. Don't think you didn't get it right. Absolutely, you got it right. This is what it should look like. Because after you shape everything and you put on a mannequin or your clients try the clothes, it's going to fit perfectly well at the back. So, from my measurements, center was 8. I have my 8 here. Then the below 12. The top length was 19. Then the little sewing allowance left here is for the seam allowance. And so I come to the shoulder point here. I chalk my exact center. That's from this shoulder here to this one, which is 8. And I include seam allowance here, 1 inch. 1 inch. So I come here to take the bust measurement. The bust from what we have here is 38, which is 9 plus 9, 36 rather. 36. So this is 36 here. 36 into 4 gives you 9. And you include your 2 inches seam allowance. Then for the underbust, the underbust measurement is 28. 28 into 4 gives you 7. Then 2 inches seam allowance. Then the round waist is 25. 25 into 4 will give you this. Then you include your 2 inches seam allowance. Then for the round hip, which is 34, 34 I guess should be 8¾ then plus your seam allowance will give you this. Then you're ready to join your dots this way. Okay. Now let's check the back measurement. The back measurement we picked initially was 14, was 16. So you have your 16 into 2, which is 8 inches here. Then you roll this way. For this lesson now, I've decided to show you to cut this princess dart neckline v-neck. So I'll be showing you how I'm going to be doing that now. Yeah, to how I do my proper v-neck measurement is, I use the bust interval, which is also the breast point. From this measurement now, the breast point is 8. So I'm going to come to the neckline here. I'll measure 4. 4 into 2 gives me 8. Because I believe your neckline should align with your bust line. That is what I believe in cutting and sewing princess that. So I have my 4 inches measurement here, and I also include my seam allowance. But mind you, if I cut 4 inches and I include my seam allowance, extra half inch, that will make it 9, which is it's going to be wider than the exact breast from which is 8. So in that case, you're going to do 3.5 for the neckline, and you include the half inch to make it 4 for the seam allowance. So when you do this, this measurement is going to align also with your breast point. I hope you understand what I said. Then after this, whatever preferred neck length you want, it could be 5, it could be 6, it could be 7. For some clients, they like it deep. For some clients, they like it normal. For some, they like it a bit high. So for this lesson now, let's do 6 inches. Mind you, this is the exact back measurements you're doing. This here is a seam allowance. So let's say from here, I'll do 6. That's 6 inches. So after that, I'm going to join my dots from here to this point, this way. This way. Then I'm ready to trim out my top. Yep. So the V-neck. If I'm doing V-neck here, I'm also making it a sleeveless V-neck. So how do I achieve a perfect armhole for my sleeveless bustier top? All I do is basic. I measure the distance from here to here, 6. Yeah. Then I join my curve for the sleeve. Are you with me? Then I cut this way. Mind you, this 6 armhole measurement is not applied to everybody. The bigger the person, the higher the measurement goes. But for a size 8, this 6 inches measurement is perfect. Because after sewing, it's still going to be bigger than what we have. And we don't want our armhole too big or too small. Perfect and in between. So after that, I'll trim off the excess here. Remember, we have excess from the beginning of the fabric. So I'll trim off that. Next thing I do is I come here and make my blouse length equal by trimming off the excess as well. So this is what I have for the front. Now let's go to the back. If you notice, I used the breast cup to cut this. In order for me to get accurate measurements, I placed it underneath this way for it to sit right. So I'm about to cut the back right now to trim the back. So I put it this way. I always put the breast point interval, which is 8, right on the back interval as well, which is 8. So I place my lines on each other this way. Then I insert my cup also to give it a little lift for it to give it the shape I want. Remember, I told you about this too. If you have this from your back sewing, from your back cutting, you're on the right track. Don't feel like you've done the wrong thing. No, you're on the right track. Just watch how I lay it and do it. So after this is done, the next thing is to trim the back as well. So I trace out the front measurement this way. Mind you, this is a sleeveless princess dart with V-neck. So this is our preferred shoulder point from here to here, but I include 1 inch seam allowance. Also for the back, I'm also going to include an extra 1 inch seam allowance because I told you when I was drafting the pattern, that's always very advisable to include extra inch for the back to make it longer than the front. So when you fit and wear, it sits well right on your shoulder. It's not as if it's dragging back or pulling forward. It sits right in the middle of your shoulder. So this way, I include my seam allowance, right? Well, for the back neckline, it's a thing of choice. I could prefer to do same front and back V-neck, and I might do the back round neck. It depends on how I want it, or how you want it, or how the client wants it. So for this lesson now, let's do round neck. So what I do is I make sure that my front and my back tallies. I don't add to it nor reduce the wideness of the neck. Whatever measurement I use for the front also determine the measurement for the back. In fact, it's the same measurement for the front and the back. So this is how I go about it. I chalk from here. Then I measure the depth of the neck I want. So let's say I want the back slightly low. If I want the back like 5, I'll chalk 5. Automatically, I will cut it from 5. If I want it lower, I'll chalk whatever I want it to get to. Automatically, I'll join the length I want. But the most important part is this point here must tally. You can't cut this longer, wider than this. No, it's not. Because by the time you fix it, it's not going to sit well and it's not going to be balanced. So you have to take note of that also. But for today, like I said, we are going to do the front V-neck and the back round neck. So after getting this, the next thing to do is to determine the depth of the neck. For this lesson today, I'm going to use 2 inches. Mind you, you need to join this here. So let's say 2 inches. After that is done, I'll join my dots together. Let me do here 2 inches and this as well 2 inches. So watch what I do. I join my dots. Now I'm set to trim. I hope you can see it well. I hope you understand how we did this, how I got to this point, from the measurement to pattern draft to trimming of the fabric to ironing to adding stay to the material also. So watch. So you see, this is the perfect measurements I need for the client. So after this is done, all I need to do is turn the neckline. This is what it looks like after trimming. Hope you can view it well. This is what it looks like. So after doing that, the next thing I have to do now is to turn my seam in for the neck, turn the armhole, turn the bottom, and this also. Either ways, you can attach lining to lining, fabric to fabric, and you turn everything in. But don't forget to include your breast cup. Very important. Don't forget to include that. When it gives it a nice fit. The bust part looks really good and neatly and well done. So after turning the neckline and the armhole, I flat iron all my seam. I shape the blouse and I put the zip as well. And here we have the finished product of what the Princess Dart blouse looks like. This is the front of the top with the V-neck. Also, this is the back of the top. So, I hope you've been able to learn a thing or two from me. Thank you for watching my video. Kindly like, subscribe for more videos from my YouTube channel. Thank you.